The meeting is now being recorded. I'm gonna stop my video and mute myself for you guys to take over. If you have any questions or difficulty, please just I'll pop back on.
Right, thank you.
Thanks.
Hey, Alvin, do you want to reply to the question that's in the Capital One channel?
There's a question. I did not see that.
I thought Thaddeus was going to respond, but I could respond, but
He doesn't say a name, which would be nice. Wait, which question? The first one or the second one?
the most recent one about how we distribute reps to go to hackathons.
Should I respond in chat or respond during this session?
He's from MLH, so I think maybe just from this chat, because I don't think he would be in this or like would look at this meeting.
Okay. Let's see. Thaddeus says he's with other students right now.
It looks like we've got about 14 participants in here now. If you guys maybe want to introduce yourself and give them a quick rundown of what we're going to be doing this hour.
Sure. I did not see the attendees. I saw the panelists.
Yeah. Yep, they're trickling in. The announcement just got released on the Discord, so.
Okay, we can introduce ourselves. So I'll go first. So we are two reps from Capital One. I'm one of them. My name is Nicole. I'm part of the cyber LOV, so I work with mostly cybersecurity teams. I'm on my second year as a senior associate, and you can ask me anything related to security related concepts, but I'm also a software engineer at heart, so know all the basic languages, Python, React, JavaScript, have some Angular full stack experience, and along with a lot of experience with AWS. Yep, Alvin.
Yeah, so I'm Alvin. I've been at Capital One for 3+ years. I work on the iPhone application for Capital One. So I specifically work on the alerts and notifications and a bunch of different features on it. So feel free to ask me anything about iOS or backend development, since I also work on the orchestration layer, microservices and experiences there, and all that fun stuff. So yeah. Stasia says, "Love the Dino Serpent." Cool. That's our logo for Nessie, our API. Cool. So yeah, this is a relatively like informal we have here. So feel free to ask us questions. So there's a Q&A. What sort of projects are considered applicable for this track? For the track for our Capital One hack, it's just basically anything that's financial based. So a credit tracking app, or oh, Nicole's responding to it.
Oh no, this is the first time I am interacting with this Q&A panel, so I'm just saying that we're answering this question live.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Yeah, so like anything financial based. So we'd like to keep it broad so that people can well, just give out some more creative ideas. Generally, we judge on like just how the code is and like how thoughtful and like how creative it is. So like if you do like a generic, simple, like a simple application, like it won't be that great versus something like crazy. Someone did do a tracking app for stock a few years ago, and that was pretty dope. Will we be receiving the recording? That will be, I believe it's going to be on YouTube, according to the PSU rep.
So we can answer questions on, again, the hack, or maybe you want to know a bit more about Capital One or more about what we do, if any of that interests you guys. Okay, we got one. Where are you both located, and what is your favorite part about working at Capital One? Okay, so I'll go first for this one, then you can go, Alvin. So I am located at McLean, so in Virginia, so the headquarters, very near DC. If you don't know, if for those of you that don't know where that is exactly, because I didn't know at first. Favorite part about working at Capital One, I think for me, it's like the people there, like they're very supportive, and they're very like, well, very much kind of like there for you, and like the people there support you and your goals. So it's not just like the work that you do there day in and day out. They also like help you with like, okay, how do you grow? Like, do you want to like do this? Like the hackathons, something again, like extra that we can do. Sometimes I do conferences, and like it's something that I'm like very passionate about attending, and it's all paid for. So favorite part is about like the support system and the people that are there to help support you for me.
Cool. So I am located in, well, also in the McLean area. So I don't work in the headquarters. I work in the smaller building next to Tyson's Corner Mall. You guys know about it? Um, favorite part about working at Capital One? Basically, I mean, I feel like the learning aspect is pretty great. Like the TDP rotation program is very, for like college students, is pretty great since you get two positions essentially. First year you get something, and then the second year you get a different position. It gets you like pretty situated compared to other companies where they give you, or you once you join the company, you're in that position for life or until you quit or something. It's also, the community is pretty nice too, where like it's a big, everyone wants you to learn, everyone wants you to do a certification, or like if you want to do a certification or something like that, it's always available. Or and if you want to like go to a conference or something, we are allowed a conference and stuff like that. It's pretty nice with they want you to learn and like want you to grow in your field. Cool. Difficult part about Capital One. For me at least, we are a bank, so a lot of our stuff is, we have to go through legal, and everything has to be checked by accessibility, legal, and all that fun stuff. So anything we do, like front end side, has to be checked. It has to be make sure like everything is like tied up in neat bow for us to deploy to prod. So it takes a little bit for everything to push through. That's probably one of the most annoying parts, I feel.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. It's the red tape that kind of goes along with being attached to working for a bank. A lot of the stuff that you think that, okay, really quick, this will be a quick fix, you can push it to prod. No, it's a lot, and it's going to take at least like a whole day, maybe 2 days or 3 days if you're touching something very specific. So also will agree with that. And then something else that's different that I also thought of is like, when you are put into a team, like sometimes you're like, okay, well, it's just this one thing that I'll like focus on. No, sometimes it's like you got to like do more of like a jack of all trades. So maybe you're going to be learning more about the full stack. So like I really didn't have any desire to work on full stack, but then I got like put in a position where I over the course of a year learned everything back and forth. So it was really good. It was very difficult kind of acclimating myself to that, just to being like thrown into like something I didn't like particularly had an interest of doing, but like I know it was like very good, because otherwise I'd have been like just kind of blind to what people like that tend to do. So like I know now the hard intricacies of working with MongoDB or Angular JS. So was very difficult to kind of like put myself in that situation, but also very rewarding. Got one saying, what kind of certifications do you usually do? So could be different depending on like what you kind of want to specialize in. So for me, for cyber, the first certification I got, which was actually in college, was the Security Plus from CompTIA. It's kind of like an entry level certification. So then like the next thing I was thinking of doing is the OSCP, which for those of you that don't know is like pen testing. So like the red teaming of like actually hacking into things. So it's like a certification that's really well known in the security world. And following up that along the way is the CISSP. So just like the step above the Security Plus. So that's one for security related. Capital One is very into AWS, so they usually push you to do the what's it called, Alvin? The associates? I forgot. The solutions architect.
Yeah, solutions architect.
Associate. Yeah, that one. So very easily you can get it because of like all the work that you do in AWS at Capital One typically. So they push you to do that because it's, you know, good to have under your belt. Yeah, I think those are the top things on my mind. I don't know if it's different for you, Alvin.
There's a cybersecurity course or course for the certification for mobile development. I am currently working on that. There's AWS. I am also working on that as well. There's a bunch of different certifications. I also have like New Relic, if you guys know what that is. It's one of our logging stuff from Capital One and Splunk. There's yeah, there's always like a bunch of certifications online that we can just pick and choose and go for that. Cool. And hopefully that answers your question. So Joseph has a question for you, Nicole.
Okay. I'm a second-year cyber major at Penn State. What skills did you wish you learned more of while in school? How prepared were you when entering the job market? Did you get your Security Plus? So yeah, I got my Security Plus like junior entering senior year in college. I would say I was very prepared. I kind of knew what I wanted, but cyber at Capital One was kind of like the one wild card because I applied to a lot of security related companies. So like FireEye or Mandiant consulting services. I was applying to some consulting agency in Chicago because I went to school at UIUC. So Chicago is one of the major cities around there. So I was very adequately prepared for security related things, but Capital One was the only like kind of weird software engineering with a specialization in wanting to be in the cyber team. So it was a bit different for me. I though will say though that like algorithms, right? Because it was the technical interview that kind of like shapes whether or not you would be adequately prepared for Capital One. So I felt like I wasn't studying enough for that, but I ended up being okay for that, did really well. What skills did I wish I learned more of? I would say probably more, I did take an algorithms class, but like that algorithms class was a lot of theory, at least for me. It was a lot of proofs, NP hard problems, and a bunch of other stuff that I feel like had no association with like what you really need to be doing for, you know, these interview questions. But like, I think that's just something different that you got to like LeetCode, HackerRank, those kind of like aim towards like helping you do better in those. Other than that, like just having the nitty gritty stuff like that, I think I would wanted to maybe have taken more grad classes for security because I really enjoy this stuff, but like I don't miss it as much because now I can do that in conferences or some other stuff here, or like work in a team that does it. So don't miss as much about it, but something maybe along the lines I could have done more. Was I on mute the whole entire time? I
Oh,
wasn't.
you
Right?
were. You were talking.
Okay, cool.
You weren't on mute.
Dang it. Okay, so basically, TLDR, I would say that I would want to have taken more graduate
Oh,
level
you weren't
security
on mute.
courses in college.
I
Oh, I
think,
wasn't? Okay.
yeah, you weren't. Ugh.
Yes, okay.
You're
Okay,
good.
guys. Okay, so Alvin, you can answer this one.
Certification helped me get a position in Capital One. It doesn't hurt. We don't have anything that you say you want, they will like force you to get. It'd be nice for you to have certs, but most of the certs for like the college entry stuff, we don't really expect you to have any certs. Like if you have the AWS cert exam, it'd be nice to have it under your belt. But if you don't have it, Capital One will sponsor your learning and your test itself and pay for it. So like I wouldn't worry too much about certs too much unless you aren't a like CS background person. If you aren't a CS background person, you should be, and you're trying to get into the CS field, and you're doing the college entry for Capital One, certs will definitely help you with that. It gives you a one up from everyone else.
Yeah, definitely. I think it just sets some people maybe apart or maybe reinforces you in a position where you can talk to a recruiter like, yeah, I'm really good at this. Well, here's like proof, like this is a certification I got. I know some of them are usually pass or fail, but like it's still like really good initiative, I think. That's what my 2 cents are. Have I been sponsored by Capital One to attend Grace Hopper? And what other conferences would I attend? I haven't personally sought out being sponsored to go to Grace Hopper. I was thinking about it for this year, but then other stuff came in the way with my team, so I didn't have the time. What other conferences would I recommend? So for security related conferences, because that's really all I kind of know about, they're called cons. So SecCons, or even like the more local ones are, I know one in DC, like they're B-sides. So that's what they're called, BSIDES. B-sides are typically cons that are local to an area and is more like knitted, and you don't get as overwhelmed, but they do have this basic like cadence of talking. I would recommend like the top ones for that. So like in DC, there's DC B-sides that I went to. I went to, forgot the one in Chicago, but I went to that one. Yeah, I recommend actually like any conferences that have to do with security. If you Google like the top like 5, there was like ShmooCon that gets sold out within like 5 seconds of it going live. Recommend that one. I was able to get into that one last year. DEF CON is a top one. But yeah, like it's any conferences that you can Google that are like ones that people recommend are generally the ones I also would recommend. So yeah, I don't know much about software engineering conferences. Do you know anything about that, Alvin?
Software engineering, there's like Spring Boot one. It's random locations. Like last year was in Texas. The year before that was in DC. That one was pretty fun. reInvent is, I heard, is really fun because it's in Vegas, and I had a coworker who went there 2 years ago, and they were like, yeah, they just gave out free booths to everyone, which is great. It was a big party over there. I personally went to WWDC, which is iOS's personal conference for over in California. That was pretty fun. You can learn, like, do all the workshops that Apple gives you, and like just learn all about iOS stuff, and do stuff like that. I mean, there's so many conferences out there. Like there's international ones, and there's local ones. All these, it's like Capital One was probably, like, if it's related to your field and it's reasonable priced, Capital One will sponsor it and pay for food, travel, housing. It's yeah.
So do you have your AWS certification? Would you recommend any other certs? I do. Alvin, do you have yours?
I am currently working on it.
Okay, so I got it this past March, actually. Would I recommend any other certs? Don't know if you want to, again, I said it before, but like for security related, I would recommend probably the Security Plus if you ever want to go into security from CompTIA. Yeah, that's the first entry level one that I would recommend. And then as for any other certs that's not security related, I don't really know much other than for AWS, like the solutions architect is really nice. It was a very rounded view, or like rounded conceptualization of like how everything works together. I thought it was really nice. Unnecessary, I guess, if you're not going to go into like an area where like, you know, the company won't be using it. But if you're thinking about like Capital One specific, then AWS certification is like a huge plus. Lets them know that you really do know everything about it. But otherwise, it's fine if you don't have it. Like you generally tend to get taught or like know all about it within the first year.
Hey guys, Thaddeus just joined. I'm the third host from Capital One.
Hey, Darius.
Cool. Yep. Hello. We are in the middle of answering some questions. Do you want to answer this one? Can you see them?
What's the best way to pick up a language or algorithm quickly? Is that the question?
Yeah, that's later.
I'm going from like what was submitted earlier on. So it was, do you ever feel, you're good. Do you ever feel rushed or stressed on a project?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't know. Rush is different than than stressed I feel, right? Like I personally sometimes get adrenaline rushes whenever I'm working through something. I feel like that's like comfortable stress. Now the rush that this anonymous attendee might have talked about or might be referring to is like, I don't know, you say that this project was supposed to take 6 months and then it's communicated that it takes 3 months, right? And now you got to do this in half the time. Like I don't feel that. I would say almost ever at Capital One. I think um those co-location is really important, and like your voice is like pretty important or like really important. So like anytime that projects have been uh uh discussed, at least I feel like I'm at kind of the knight's table. So I think I really encourage everyone to have that voice too. If they feel like, I don't know, if they're a part of a project planning and they don't feel like they have the resources to do so, like, that's something to definitely bring up. Um, Capital One, we use Slack, and there's a lot of Slack channels that you can join and meet with people and talk to people, things like that. So, like, I never really feel like I'm rushed on a project. Um, I think more recently, on a more realistic level, we've had a surge of security stuff. Unfortunately, Capital One was hacked last year in about the October timeframe. So ever since then, there have been really on top of things in terms of security. Not to say we weren't there before, but now it's very much so the forefront and the top priority, right? So there are certain times where like security concerns can seem rushed, but those are usually common or like common vulnerabilities like throughout the company. So again, join the right Slack channel, talk to the right people. You should be able to get it resolved relatively quickly. So I don't think so. I think the pace is comfortable.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think I've ever felt rushed as much as I have felt stressed, mostly because I am very like particular about how I would like to like put things into ready for acceptance. Like there's like a certain like bar that I have. So maybe it's like I just like self like pressure. Otherwise, like sprints are there. You have your scrum master that makes sure everything is fine. Like that's why you have your daily stand-ups. So everything otherwise runs very smoothly. It's if any stress, it's just like on me. I feel like is what I've had.
Yep, same here. I mean, I feel like you guys covered everything I was going to say.
Okay. How has your experience been working virtually, guys?
I mean, Capital One has been pretty great with the COVID since we were one of the first companies to go all out on work from home back in March. Um, it was they've been advocating everyone to take PTO, take some days off, take like it just to just get your mind off of work and just relax and look out for yourself. It's virtually like it hasn't really, in my opinion, it hasn't really changed too much. It's got, if anything, it got more lax, in my opinion. We like versus in person, things were going a lot more faster, and then versus virtual, everything's a little more slower. But other than that, nothing too crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely echo that sentiment. Like, I, yeah, I really don't think work-wise, collaboration-wise, things have changed much, which is very surprising because Capital One like highly regards co-location. Like, so at work, I sit with my team, I sit with my team's teams, I sit with my boss, I sit with my boss's boss. Like every seat is like designed for you to sit as close to whoever you work with as possible. And so that was a huge fear for me because that was a big plus coming to work for Capital One. I worked for a different company before working at Capital One. And I was like, this is awesome, right? And then coronavirus swept in and, got a little worried. But yeah, I think Capital One handles it very well. Like we're very structured in terms of planning already. And I think it kind of showed that through this coronavirus time.
Yeah, I echo what you guys both said. I have the same sentiment and feeling towards it. Yeah, nothing else to add for that. Is there any cool or innovative tech y'all know of slash have been working with in Capital One that you may be able to share about? Well, there's a lot of cool things, honestly, and from what I tend to kind of like look at in cyber. So actually, I don't think I would be able to share much of it because it is kind of more like within Capital One that we're doing things. So that I may be able to share about. I think it's just like what people just like bring and like work towards like finding solutions that we have problems within Capital One. That we just like make our own proprietary things, but then we also like we have like we can patent it. So one is undergoing like review I know of that's going to be patented, and the whole team is going to be like, you know, it'll be like a celebratory moment, right? Because it's going to be really pushing the envelope for some, it has to do with cryptography. So really proud of that team for doing it. That's one thing I know of.
I was about to say, cool technology. You work on restricted perimeter. Like that's a cool technology. So,
yeah. I guess the novelty has worn off, but yeah, I think yeah, that also is pretty cool. Restricted perimeter is my team, so it came out of because of the security breach. My team got created. So I'm dealing with having to kind of not fully resolve like the core issue, but like working with other teams that make that issue like not able to happen again. So
yeah,
I don't know if you guys know anything else.
Yeah, I think it's probably a big one. Like I know during September on Twitch, there were like Capital One was actually a sponsor of or was the sponsor of September reduced subscription costs in Twitch. And while that month was going, they were rolling Eno ads for our chatbot. I think that's a pretty cool technology. I think our first horizon into cloud was going to like marching together into one cloud, so that way we can like share our experiences. So like Capital One is like one of the biggest customers of AWS, like period. And now we are shifting to our second horizon, which is cloud agnostic. So I think there's a lot of cool technology and like things coming up where we're basically preparing ourselves to be like full Kubernetes. So I think that's a cool step.
I personally, it's just a lot more iOS stuff. Nothing really too cool that's not been announced during like the iOS sessions. So yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. How do you like the culture and people you're working with? I love it. That's my number one favorite thing about it. I can't speak enough about it. I think honestly, it's something that when you're in the office and even like sometimes virtually, if like it kind of translates to like, it's very welcoming, very supportive, very engaging. That's my take on it. I love talking about it, but I mean, it's something you experience rather than something that like you experience and you understand and you can like feel towards, rather than just like learn about it and like from what other people are saying. Like,
yeah, I think so. I feel like if there was an award for this, like Capital One would win like the Culture Spectrum Award. Like there's people that wear shorts to the office. There's people that have tattoos, have colored hair, and then there's people that have suits. So like there's just like and it's kind of a team culture bubble thing, right? Like it's funny, you'll magically migrate to whatever team is not only your work fit but also your culture fit, and get really comfortable with those folks, right? So I mean, if your culture is more lax or joking and happy, that kind of thing, or if you I don't know, you like dyeing your hair a different color every week, like there's like work for work's sake, and then there's also like culture that fits that bill too. So I think culture is pretty awesome. our campus, or like our campuses and offices as well, are like super sick. I think I work in Richmond, which is probably one of the less popular areas to work, but it's a campus and there's bikes between every building. There's a sand volleyball court, there's a basketball court. Like my team does like goes and plays basketball before coronavirus. We would play basketball like every other week. We have like chefs that make crazy good food. In the Richmond campus, there's a monthly event that was called Dining with the Chef, where you get your own personal cooking class and like all this stuff. Like some people might have heard in the talks yesterday, but like Capital One, like I'm part, like I organize like video game teams of Capital One to like play in competitive leagues, and there's also intramural soccer teams like on every campus. So like it's there for sure. I mean, everything is like very transparent to you. I think even this opportunity, us being here as hackathon mentors for you all, is also a transparent opportunity. I think is a really cool part of the culture, because there are other companies, right, that just send like HR folks, and I think it's cool that we're all engineers and we get to be here with y'all. So.
Yeah, Capital One's culture is like very tech-like. It's like everything you see in a tech company, but at a bank. We're actually we advocating ourselves as like a tech company itself. We have like pods just lounge around in our offices. We have like everything's open space. Everything's right, like standing tables that goes up and down like with the electronic ones. Like it's
Oh, I
very
miss those.
yeah, they're pretty nice. Yeah, we're pretty much like how we advocate ourselves as we're just very techy. Like if someone from like San Francisco comes over here, like I feel like they'll be like, oh, this feels like one of the Silicon Valley companies, but not as big, of course, because Capital One's not as not as big as those companies. But yeah, like the people there has been like it's just great to work with. Like those, everyone's always happy to work with, and everyone's very friendly and always available to help and stuff like that.
What technical Capital One look and candidate while hiring for software developer and data scientist roles? I think that's worded a bit. So what technically do we look for, I think is what you're asking. So I don't know. So I'm part of the technical interviewing committee. So I do the technical interviews. And so I don't know if I can speak freely about this, but I think it's fine giving like an overall answer. So technically we kind of want to like look for like how well you can not just technically, but how well you communicate like your knowledge of like so data structures and like why you pick something over something else, and like how you can go through with it. Do you realize it's efficient or maybe lacking in some area? Even if it is, can you go through with it and like have us help get like understand why you're picking something? Maybe it's a language that like we don't know, but like because you understand it so well and you can like help us understand why you did something, at the end of it we should be able to like figure out like, okay, yeah, this would work because of this XYZ. So I can't really say like what exactly technically we're looking for, but like overall the whole technical portion aspect of the interview is, as I said, like seeing like from this given problem, like how you solution or engineer something that can like solve it, and like do we understand you through it. Yeah, I don't know, do you guys want to answer your own version of that? Okay.
Right. Yeah, like it's everything is really generic. For like the college entry stuff, it's basically know your code, know your data structures, and just be yourself during the like just be yourself. Like you don't have to like be too crazy and like over at it. Like most of my like for interviews, like do I want to work with them? Like that's whenever I interview with them, like do I want to work with them? Do they know what they're doing? Do they stuff like that?
Has either of your workflows been interrupted / changed since the pandemic? Have you always worked more virtually? So go ahead.
Okay. So like personally, like I've been able to like work from home for my current team. Like it depends. It's basically a team on team thing. Some teams they are advocating like everyone's like, oh, work from home whenever you want. Some teams are work from home every Fridays, or like some teams are like don't work from home ever. But personally, like I've been on a team that's been pretty chill with working from home virtually like prior. So like I like work from home like every Fridays and to beat the traffic and stuff like that, which is pretty nice. Um, it's like work hasn't really been impacted too much. It's just morale's been kind of iffy since we're all stuck inside for the past 8 months, 8 months, something like that. So it's not that fun after a while. It's always nice to see people in person and like talk with them and like tapping on someone's shoulder, be like, hey, could you help me with this or something like that? Or like, do you need help on that? It's a lot more interactive in person.
Yeah, and I've been on the opposite end of that spectrum. I've been on teams where you basically have to work every day in the office. But I've never seen that as like a problem personally. I mean, they try to supplement it. I'm trying to see if I can get some pictures, but they try to supplement it with like a lot more in-person events too. So like we used to have a thing called Froyo Friday, and they would take us to like we have a frozen yogurt shop in Richmond, like on campus. Um, Shameless plug. and we would do like team Froyo Friday days, and they would like pay for us to go get Froyo and like together. Like it's like the team of teams, like 6 teams. So I thought that was always like a cool thing, like a once a month type of deal. Yeah, I mean, my work, I guess my like work / battle station at work is like way more intense than anything I could probably craft up at home. Like I have like my own personal like big screen TV size whiteboard, and a bunch of like a huge curved monitor and stuff. So I could do those things at home, but you know, it's like, oh, they're there at the office, so I'm there every day. So I've never mind.
What's the best way to pick up a language or algorithm quickly? I think for me, it's just getting thrown into it. I think it's like kind of like sink or swim maybe, but like that was my initial like thought when I had to learn front end development. I did not like JavaScript, but I had to. I had a story assigned to me, and like the whole week I had to learn about promises and async methods, and it was a mess, but I ended up being able to do it. So I think it's just going in there.
Yeah, definitely same. Like, but to that point, like there needs to be like an environment for you to fail in. So I think if you join any new team, whether it's like Capital One or not, like those are things to like look out for. It's like how well organized or set up their local environments are, how well organized set up are their QA environments, things like that. So like if you what's kind of like even the risk acceptance of tossing something into QA, like are you on a team of teams type of projects? Like I work on a customer facing product, so there's a lot of other teams that are constantly testing things and trying new features, right? So like knowing where you stand on like how much you can break things for your own learning is like pretty important. I think a lot of teams have that anyway, but I that's what I would ask even before like finding something new. You know what I'm saying? Because like you'll want to know if you do get assigned something like that JavaScript story, you have a comfortable environment to at least try things in. And if you don't, then that's probably like a good place to start. You know.
picking a language is different for every person. Like personally, I like to get thrown into it, like Nicole, but like some people will like a mentor, stuff like that too. Or like there's also courses online to like just help you get situated with it. But Stack Overflow is probably the best thing ever.
Okay, question for Alvin. Since I have a Windows system at the moment, how would you recommend getting into iOS development with this environment?
Quick answer: go to Android. Short answer: you can go. You can always do virtual machines on your computer to boot up a Mac. It's very annoying, but it's possible. I did that back in college, and that was not that fun to do. But yeah, it's like iOS stuff is basically like it's very Apple like world to do. It's not a like you can go on Windows. I think you can do it on Linux as well. It's easier on Linux because Mac is Linux based, but I'm not exactly 100% sure. It's been a while since I've done Mac or Windows development or Windows iOS on Windows environments.
Do you have a leadership track that isn't managerial? I think immediately I think of like the branching off when you go into like getting into manager versus like, I don't really know off the top of my head, but it's like the whole like master software engineer, like you have the independent, it's the ICs, I forgot what it stands for, but like it branches off. Do you guys know about that more so?
The individual contributors.
Yeah, that's what it's
yeah.
called.
So you split apart at one point after becoming principal, and then managerial, which is equivalent to master, and then it goes up from there. Like you can become a eventually a fellow in a tech field, but equivalent to like a director or something like that on the managerial side. So yes, there is, but like it's just more of an individual contributor on the other side. So you could just be on a team working on code and like directing that stuff, or like owning a big feature or something like that.
Yeah, there's also a lead engineer. I don't know the difference. There's like master, there's lead. I think the very top level, there's only like 20 people in all of Capital One that are like the very top of the individual contributors, but like I don't know what the direct, I think they're in line with senior director, I think. I don't want to say for sure, but they're somewhere up there. I remember hearing the statistic. It's like very few people are up there.
Yeah, and that's what I remember hearing. Like they're in the Clarendon office, so they're doing like a lot of like lab stuff. So like learning like brand new stuff in Capital One, stuff like that.
Yes, I think the short answer there is yes.
Yeah. How do you collaborate well with others and work together if you both have separate goals and possibly separate languages?
I guess I'll take that one, or I'll start. So I think I think on any given team, well, I think it's all about team balance, right? So like, I think certain teams may have like not that much work. So then, if you're on if you're on a big team that has like like a lower amount of work, then it can seem like, I don't know, the movie Babe come to life, where everyone's just kind of like struggling for that one big thing that your team does that whole year. I've been on that side. I've also been on the side where the team has way too much, right? And it's like you don't even worry about. I mean, either situation, you shouldn't worry about like your personal performance like too much. Like you should like generally, if you just like do your thing and you're good at it, like it'll get recognized. But there are situations for sure. Like I definitely won't play like the happy optimist and like everything's like, you know, sunny skies. So I would say it's a lot of the answer of that question for me is all about the team balance and what your team actually works on and does. Like on my team, there's so much stuff going on. Like, you know, everyone on my team is like pretty much everyone on my team is a high performer, right? And it's like you don't run out of work, and you don't even have time to even think about whether you're overachieving over another person on your team. So I think it's kind of a good problem to have, and I think generally teams at Capital One are smaller, which is, you know, a good thing. So that way the work is dispersed, I think, pretty properly. But yeah, I think if it's in the other situation, that's definitely something to think about, right? Like, how do you collaborate well? I think most of that kind of goes with like how proactive you are, right? So like there's different levels of that as well, right? Like if you're talking about something in a meeting, are you the person that's setting up the next meeting, right? And then it goes even further than that. Are you the person who set up the next meeting before the meeting was even over, right? Like, so I think there's just different levels of how proactive you can be. And I mean, frankly, if someone is like a high achiever on your team or like super well organized or whatever, right, and they're constantly doing those things, then I think that's I don't think that that should be seen as like a struggle to collaborate with them. I mean, if anything, I mean that's like a really good like personal role model for you, right? So I think it's fairly easy, so long as you see it in the right perspective. Um, you know, try not to get overly serious. I know it's work, but you know, like don't get overly serious about it, and just stay committed to being you.
Just quick two notes on that. I think even though like the team could have like separate, I unfortunately had to work with like teams that are not very like defined as like 5 to 7 per team. It's like I've worked in 20 plus people in the team, just because of like it being different in cyber. Sometimes some teams just need the help. um, it's it manages to like work itself out. You get like smaller groups that kind of like have their own like goals that you want to like also strive towards. So like I came into that 20 plus team with like 5 other TDPs, which was like abnormal, because typically you have like 1 to 2 other TDPs that go with you in the same team. But you just collaborate with those, like have someone that has similar interests. And even if it is separate languages that you're working on, like they were working on some Java with Spring framework, and then I was working on, as I said, like the front end, like it's fine. Like it ends up not being like a huge issue. Eventually you work towards the same like general direction, even if you are learning different languages. Okay. What's the best way to throw yourself into it? Does that mean projects or like online courses? If projects, what kind should someone trying to master Python do? And do you use Python mainly at Capital One? I will say we don't use Python mainly at Capital One. There's a lot of teams that do that, but like it depends on the team that you're in. In my first team and my second team, we almost never touch Python. So depends on team. I don't know about someone trying to master Python, what they would do. Nothing comes to mind off the top of my head. But I would say it does mean like projects that you impose onto yourself. Like maybe you're trying to implement like your own version of like Google Docs, and you do it all in Python. I don't know. It's kind of something that you kind of need to steer yourself into. I don't know if you two have anything different to say.
Yeah, I think mastering the language and mastering your job are like 2 totally different things. I think maybe from like a college perspective, mastering the language is mastering the job, but I think where the real challenge comes into play and work-wise and understanding where you fit within your team and what challenges they have, right? And the more you struggle to kind of identify what the priorities are and where you want to try to put your energy, is where it's like the more you'll be basically running uphill. So I think, and I don't think that's an overnight thing, especially in small companies that have big changes, right? Which I think Capital One is definitely one of, right? Like there's org changes all the time, and Capital One is like not a small, it's not a large company. And so, you know, things can change overnight. Like, I mean, you know, even Nicole's talking about restrict perimeter, like a team came out of nothing, effectively, sort of, right? Like that can happen all the time. And when those things happen, it could be a little loose, right? They're trying to hire the right people to figure out those problems. So there's a lot of design thinking in that aspect. Like, what do we need to do, right? Like we have a lot of gaps. What do we need to do? So I think that type of mastery is like something you just get better and better at, like with sure like training and stuff, but also just time. Like it's a skill that like even you get really really good at, but you never actually master. So you're constantly getting better at it. I think that's kind of cool too.
Another good way to like get yourself like thrown into it will be like contributing like to open source software. Like if there's a library or something like that and contributing and adding new features to it, that's great on your resume. That sounds great on on almost every level, like contributing to a large project or something like that too. Just learning, learn by doing is what I feel like would be the best way to do it.
Okay, real quick, the last two questions. I'll answer this one real fast. What are cybersecurity certificates you recommend for learning? I recommend the Security Plus all the way. Very broad, well-rounded certification, and it goes through everything 1 inch deep and very good to like let you know what you could potentially have an interest in later. And there's a bunch more certifications once you decide where you want to go for that. So again, the Security Plus, it's from CompTIA, CompTIA. Okay, and then the last one. So the overall vibe is try and adapt to what your job requires. And as a college student, that might mean get yourself involved in as many languages and knowledge as possible to prepare yourself for a career.
I wouldn't necessarily say that's true. I think, I mean, I think in college it's more popular to be a generalist, but I guess being probably the oldest one here, if I were to do it again, I would probably start the other direction, or at least keep the languages to a minimum. Like, you know, whatever it takes to learn, I guess a 3-tier architecture is good. You know, but nothing super crazy outside of that, right? Like people want to know all of React, Angular, and Vue. Like I don't know if that's necessary, right? You could just learn Angular really well or learn React really well, and then if you learn those things very well, then you can speak towards like the approach that you would take. And some recruiters don't even really respect that sometimes, but the majority do. And from my take, I think the approach and how you approach a problem, and if you know how to approach that problem in that specific language, is like far more important than if you know the very specific on one given language, right? So because you're always going to have things that are new, the world turns all the time, and you know, whenever the new React comes out or whatever the new hotness is, it's really going to be like how quickly can you adapt to that new thing. So you know, if you're in a college situation, if you're trying to apply for a company and they really only want that language, Like I know that may seem like a little unfortunate, but I don't know if that's even necessarily like the place you want to work at, right? So like not, and I don't even mean that company, but I just mean maybe that small circle in that company, right? So like you if you're interviewing like Capital One, for example, right? Like we're pretty broad in terms of what you can use when you interview. Like I know on the job, like Nicole was saying, like a lot of people use a lot of different languages. So like I work on a lot of Java, but I also work a lot of Node.js. I have brother teams and sister teams that work on a lot of Golang, and there's the list goes on. So I would really hone in on one or two languages and just learn like the 3-tier architecture stack, and then like go deep on that. Now I know in college you have courses that span different languages, but at moments like this, like in hackathons, then I would just use like the same language or like the same stack, if you will, and just get better and better at those things, and try to solve different problems using those languages.
So
Yeah, I'd
I
say,
saw a lot of
yeah.
great questions here today. Unfortunately, we are 3 minutes over, and I do have to get to another presentation. So if there are any more questions that you guys have for Capital One, they have a channel in the Discord. Please go talk to them. Please ask them questions, the attendees, because these guys are here to answer your questions. But unfortunately, we do have to close this webinar and start up the next one. So I really liked all the answers, and I hope that you guys, as attendees, got a lot out of this. It was really informative, and all of the panelists that you see here are available on Discord to continue your questions and ask them even more questions. So I'm gonna, the recording
Right.
is now